All guests on Keel heard via the Jack Spring Electric Keel Newsmaker hotline. The latest of those, Dr. Shawn Wilson, the Secretary of the Department of Transportation and Development.
Wow, he got it right.
It was first try.
He got it right.
It's a very stressful time. Dr. Shawn, how are you this morning? Welcome back to Keel. Aaron is chomping at the bit. You're welcome, sir. Aaron's ready to go down there.
Real quickly, you're doing something to put more of your folks out to clean up the roads right now, kind of during this downtime. What's going on?
Well, as you know, we just celebrated Keep Louisiana Beautiful Week, and we weren't able to do it in our normal fashion. And taking full advantage of the reduced traffic that's on our system with the stay-at-home order coming to an end, we saw an opportunity to focus on a real big problem for us, and that's litter. It's also paying attention to growing debris or trees or things in the system that we might not normally get to because of high traffic volumes or because of the risks sometimes associated with it, and quite frankly, because we were busy filling potholes and always doing the same type of work. So we thought we'd just give a freshen up to the face of the state, much like people have done at their homes during this time. And so last week and this week, and we're going to have a more dedicated effort to this, where we will dedicate group time doing those types of projects. And we're letting the districts figure out where we have those issues, and let's go clean it up.
Dr. Shawn, we had Insurance Commissioner Jim Donlin with us not too long ago, and he had made the point, as I'm sure you're aware, that insurance companies, because people are driving less, they are giving refunds for insurance premiums. Is the lessened amount of driving across the state, is that allowing you at any point, at any level, to save money? And if not, is it allowing you to at least get some jobs done because of lightened traffic?
Well, it's not saving us money. In fact, it's the exact opposite, because our department is funded primarily with gas taxes. People don't drive, they don't pay gas taxes because they aren't using gas. We're seeing about a 35 to 40% reduction in traffic across the state, and that's going to equate to about a $50 million gap per quarter, which means that's going to be less money to spend on the road. So that's one drawback from this situation. On the other hand, it does allow us to move a little faster on projects, simply because of traffic management and the safety factors out there. So we've seen a number of projects that were scheduled to work at night were able to work during the day because there was less traffic. We saw a lot of projects were able to get more crews out to do more work because there was less traffic. So it may not allow us to get a new project started, but it will allow us to accelerate the projects that might be behind for 10, 15% because of rain delays. We've had beautiful weather recently, and so we have seen some work where folks have been able to work longer days and get more done because we're not having a rush hour traffic that we typically pull back or work a little slower under those conditions.
Dr. Shawn, you just said I think I heard you right, that you were about $15 million a quarter. Is that what you said? 50?
Yeah, so
is it one? I'm sorry, 1-5 or 5-0?
5-0.
Okay, so 50. So it's $200 million a year shortfall that your department's looking at. Yikes! What's the plan to make some of that up?
Well, the governor's created this Resilient Louisiana Commission, and there is a Transportation Infrastructure Task Force, and it's actually meeting today, and I'm chairing it, and one of your local citizens, Greg Morrison, is also a co-chair of that, and we're going to be making recommendations. Most states are asking the federal government to provide some relief, such as making our federal funds match 100% Fed, meaning I don't have the dollars to match the federal funds going forward, so make your funding 100% Fed. And this is important because there's about a 2 to 3 month gap between when taxes are actually collected on gas and when we actually see what we receive. And so just last week, we saw the numbers for March for the first time, the actual collections. We can estimate that based on the ridership we see across the state. And that's why that 40% reduction in traffic is significant. It was a precipitous drop in traffic, but it's going to be a slow increase, which means we're going to be in this slump for the summer, and that's the busiest time for us in terms of travel. And so that's going to be reduced. And then the summer effect doesn't take effect financially until September. And so we're going to have a 6-month window, and transportation departments across the country are dealing with this issue. I can take you to North Carolina, and they've reduced almost 40% of the projects that were under construction as we speak. So some states are having some drastic measures, and we're not quite there. We're committed to using surplus revenue and other resources that we're fortunate to have as a state during this difficult time.
We're hearing, Dr. Shawn, that there may be a federal program, much like the FDR New Deal, where we will jumpstart some road projects and some other federal projects. Are you hearing anything about that? And could that help on projects for us like the Intercity Connector, I-69, etc.? Any scoop on that from you yet?
So there are discussions ongoing, both with AASHTO, with the National Governors Association, Association of Road and Transportation Builders, and we would love to have another WPA that we can focus on what actually needs to get done in these states and start to build our country and our economy. The reality is there's still going to be some fatigue in terms of Congress wanting to spend additional dollars. You see that we've spent almost $3 trillion, but when you spend in infrastructure, you actually create jobs, primary and secondary jobs, and long-term jobs. If there was a stimulus package, we would try to do projects that we think is important, that we think are important for the growth of this area, not just the maintenance-type projects. And that's why the risk of saying shovel-ready projects typically mean things that I can start to build tomorrow. Well, we don't have a deck of those really expensive projects because they're the big expensive projects. And so we're advocating for a mixed effort where we have a little shovel-ready, but then let me go fund projects that I know I need to do as opposed to, just spending it on maintenance-type work. I'd rather spend it to build capacity, reduce congestion, create economic opportunity, and the legislation has to give us that flexibility. But you're right, there are projects that if we got a wad of cash, Jimmy Davis Bridge is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Interstate repair and maintenance on 20 is one of them. The Intercity Connector could advance and do lots of design work potentially. So, yeah, there are projects in your area that we would fund. And some of those maintenance projects also make it easy for me to fund those bigger projects down the road when they're ready. And so whether it's bridges or maintenance work, it's all essential and it all has to be done. And we're ready to get to it. And we have an industry, both construction and the materials folks, we're ready to get started.